Can I explain my journey to CST? This is going to take a while. It's a long one. So I entered the agile world in the early 2000s as a software developer. I was working on some pretty serious stuff and we needed to know it worked. So we cast around and we came across unit testing, which led us to test-driven development, which led us to extreme programming. And we managed to build some very, very good software teams. However, we kind of ignored the customer. So we could build great software, just not what they wanted. And this caused us concerns. We weren't quite so head in the sand that we thought this was good. We sat down, we looked around, and we came across Scrum. Okay, and as a team, we thought there's definitely some stuff here. Okay, so in the early 2000s, about 2004, 2005, I started working with Scrum. I was a senior developer at the time. I was quite experienced. I was made the Scrum Master. Wasn't the greatest move. There were probably people better qualified in hindsight. But for me, it was transformational. Up until that point, all the way through school and everything, I'd been focused on engineering, maths, science, what we call STEM today. And I really still do love a technical problem. But what I found was the people problems were fascinating. Somebody comes into work one day and you can work with them and the team and you can solve the issues. Brilliant. And then they come in tomorrow and they're a different person. They have a different personality, a different approach. Something happens when they're not within your sight. It's called life. Life just happens. They don't only exist in work. They are not a robot who flicks programs as they walk through the door and they're identical. They're constantly growing and adapting. So what we did yesterday may not work or may not work as well today. And for me and for my brain, this is fascinating. Not was, 20 years later, it still is fascinating. And that really began my journey as a Scrum Master, working with one team, then a few teams, and then small organizations. And over the years, I've had the privilege to lead some of the largest transformations on the planet. And really, it gets more and more exciting, more and more interesting. Okay? I was heavily believing that I would be an agile coach, that I would help people at all levels of a business, okay, throughout my career, because it's really what I'm about. Okay? I want to help people understand this agile thing better, this Scrum thing better. I want them to make best use of it in their context. And coaching and agile coaching are great skill sets for this. So I began that path. Early on, I became a CSP because the ACSM didn't exist at that point. Okay. And then over time, I became a CEC in about 2015, something like that. I became a CEC. I spent 6 months building my application, got it submitted, got through the rigorous assessment process, and they went, "Congratulations, John, you're one of us." And it was really nice because a lot of the people I've worked with over the years were already in that group and were taking the mickey out of me because it took me somewhere in the region of 5 years to fill in the application form. So it was a really good thing to get through. It validated for me. Okay, it showed that I was where I thought I was. I was able to operate at the highest levels of the agile world. It gave me the confidence to continue working with the people that I still work with today at all levels. Okay? The confidence to work with Scrum Masters because I know this stuff. I've got a piece of paper somewhere that says I know this stuff. And product owners and agile leaders, all the way up to and including board level members of some of the largest companies in the world. But I wasn't a trainer. I was a coach, very much bedded in. How do we make it work for you? If we make a compromise, are we making the right compromise to be more effective? Okay? And if you come on my trainings today, you will realize I'm far more interested in that than perfect. Scrum is a great framework, but we need to make it work for us. Okay? I will always say start with it and evolve away from it, if that makes sense, but always be better. Okay? And that comes back from my coaching and consulting background. And then a few years ago, I had a realization there's more ways to support people. There's more ways to help new Scrum Masters, new teams, and organizations new to this agile way of working than going in and working with one team, one organization, one Scrum Master as a coach. I could start training. And when I applied for the CST, I had a very, very clear pathway. I was applying to become a certified Scrum Trainer, not to leave coaching, and indeed I haven't, but to support my coaching. At the time, I had to rely on other Scrum Trainers, and they're great. Every single Scrum Trainer I've had the privilege of working with, alongside, co-training with, have been brilliant. But we all have slightly different takes. So I would send them off for training, and they would come back, and they'd say something. And it may be the same thing in a different way, but there'd be a communication misalignment. And I thought, well, if I did the training, then I can use my language and we can continue the work inside the organization. So I began the journey. I was fortunate. I've been a part of the Scrum Alliance community for a very long time now. And if you talk to anybody about their CST journey, the hardest thing is the co-trainings. The hardest thing is getting involved and allowing people to, convincing people to allow you into the room so that they can teach. As I said, I was fortunate. I knew a lot of trainers. I had the fortune of co-training with people like McFadyen over the years and built this collection of really solid evidence. One of the key things if you want to be a CST is you have to demonstrate that you've taught Scrum. Okay? And for me, I was lucky. I got to work with some of the early adopters and the creators of these things. And today, having gone through that process, 2018, I think I finally passed as a CST. Today, I still coach. And for me, it's really important because when you're in that training, what you want to do is you want to understand Scrum. You do. You want to understand that foundational framework. What are the building blocks? How do we make it work? But you also want to understand how do we make it work for us? And every organization, every team is different. And I believe that a good trainer in the agile world is a practitioner, not a theorist. They're not an academic. Do I know the underpinning theories and the academics behind Scrum, behind agile? Yes. But I also have grounded practice, how we make these things work. And that is the killer. If you want to embark on a trainer pathway in the agile world, please always remember, you need to be doing it. This is a practice. It's not a theory. It's constantly shifting and changing. We have academics in the field and they're invaluable. But because of the need for academic rigor, they are not as quick as empirical approaches. We can try things out, learn, and move forwards. And they need to play catch up. And I'm glad they are, because they are explaining many of the underpinnings of the agile world. But we can try things out within weeks, make decisions for what works for us and be better. And if you're going to train this, you need to live it.